Have you already started shopping for next school year? Are you already looking at what curriculum you want to buy? Before you spend your money, just take a second with me. I have some tips today to help you shop for that curriculum. I've done this a few times, and it's always around this time of year that I get a little tired of looking at what we're using this year, and I want to move on to something fresh and shiny. I know we're just ready to wrap this school year up and move on, but before you spend your money on things that you'll regret later, let's talk about a couple of really smart things that you can do to help you save money and make the best decisions for next year. Shopping for curriculum is one of my favorite things to do. All right, before you spend anything, shop your shelves. That is really important. You might already have books that you need for that upcoming student, and you can forget very easily what you have. If you don't have a system for organizing your shelves, then you might need to think about that. If you use Sunlight curriculum, I know they have little stickers that you can put on the spine of your books so that you can easily see, oh, these go with core B or these go with core D or whatever. That's very nice to have. I usually bought most of my books used if I could, so I didn't really have the neat little stickers, and I was planning to resell them probably anyway, so I usually didn't label them that way. But I did try to keep, small chapter books together, history books together, things like that. So you might have your kids, if you have some older kids, spend a little time organizing and going through your shelves, getting rid of stuff that people have outgrown or no one wants to read again. Get rid of those, sell them, make some money. That's one of the best things to do, is make some money before you spend. If you really have a lot of books, you might consider having your own home library online. It's called Tiny Cat, and that means tiny catalog, and you can catalog all of your books, and it's actually fun to do. I've had my 12, 13-year-old daughter do it for us. We haven't finished. We really need to, but you just scan the barcode and there comes the book, and you add those to your online library. So when you're out shopping, you can easily open up the app and be like, oh, I already have that book. So if you have a pretty extensive library and you're out shopping and you can never remember what you already own, that might be a nice thing to do. All right. The second thing is to know your budget. You need to know what you have to spend before you start spending. I mean, we all know that, right? I have a video on my channel about homeschooling on any budget, even free. I'll put that up here so that you can look at that, because it really is possible to homeschool even for free. Even if you have very little money, there's a lot of ways to save money and do it. And that's a great video to look at. I'm not going to repeat that information here. Don't be tempted by shiny things. Don't grab up the neatest thing. Shop used first. Get everything you can get used before you start buying new, because some stuff doesn't matter. Obviously, consumable workbooks you don't want to buy used, but some of it can be bought used. It's gently used, and you can save so much money that way. So just know your budget and know what you have to spend. And then you have to kind of divide that by however many kids you're spending for, obviously. So that's something you need to talk about with your spouse if you're married, and just think through, how much do I really have to spend on homeschooling this next year? All right. First, you need to do the subjects that are required by law in your state. If you don't know your state laws, look at hslda.org. Check out what subjects are required, and that's the first ones you need to buy. That makes sense, right? If math is required by law, I need to make sure first to get a math curriculum. I live in Texas, and science is actually not required by homeschool law in our state, but obviously we teach it. I mean, especially if your kid is in high school, colleges are going to expect to see science on their transcript. First, you take care of the subjects that are required by law. Then you add in the ones that they also need. And then if you still have money left over, you can get the ones that you want, like electives and extracurricular things. Then you can see, how much money do we have to spend on jiu-jitsu or, gymnastics or whatever. If you consider that part of your homeschooling budget, you can look at that and see what you need to get that. But the required by law things are first, then the other things they need, and then the fun stuff. So let's do it in that order. It's probably the smartest. The next thing you need to do is look at who your students are going to be next year. In homeschooling, it changes every year. You may have a young child that's finally going to be old enough to begin their formal homeschooling years and they're joining your homeschool. Maybe somebody is graduating and leaving your homeschool, but everybody is going to be moving up a grade and they may have different needs. Somebody might be moving from elementary to middle school, from middle school to high school. So look at who your students are and what you're going to need for them. And the next thing is to look at their learning style. Now, I was going to tell you, I think you should get online and take a learning style quiz. Years ago, I did have my kids take learning style quizzes, or rather, I kind of did the learning style quiz for them. I've had a lot of training in different learning styles from when I was a teacher, so I knew to look for those kind of things. The three main kinds are auditory, visual, or kinesthetic. I mean, it's just how they prefer learning. Really, all of us are a blend of those things, but your kids each probably lean toward a certain thing. So I was like, oh, I'll get some online quizzes and I'll tell the viewers, which ones to use. So I got my 13-year-old daughter to take the quizzes online and we got 3 completely different results. It was the craziest thing, but I'm going to tell you about them anyway. The first one was the VARK, V-A-R-K. I'll put a link in the description. And this one is a great questionnaire. And this is actually the results I agreed with the most. She came out as a kinesthetic learner, and thinking back on her through her homeschool career, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Kinesthetic learner all the way. I agreed with those results, but the quiz is very wordy with very big vocabulary. Middle school, high school, adult, great. Your elementary kid is not going to be able really to do this one probably. So I was trying to find one for younger kids. So I looked at the Scholastic Learning Styles quiz, and that's actually one that you take for your child. It just kind of asks you things like, if your kid could pick a toy at the dollar store, what would they pick? Well, on that one, she came out completely differently. And then the last one we did was on, educationplanner.org, and they had a learning style quiz, and she came out completely different on that one. But I think what kept skewing her results is it had so many things about loving music, and she does love music and she listens to music all the time. So it kept putting her in the auditory category, but I don't think that's how she learns best. You can take those online quizzes with a grain of salt, but spend some time thinking about your child's learning style, I guess, so that you can find a curriculum that works well with them. If they are a very visual learner, you probably don't want to get a completely boring textbook with no pictures in it. Just think about that, because some of the learning style is just like how we use the curriculum. You don't have to make them do every single worksheet. When she was younger, we would write things on index cards and put them all over the living room, and she would hop to the right answer. You can use the curriculum in any way you need to. If it is a lot of reading, you can read it out loud to your auditory learner or get the audiobook. But spend a little time trying to match what you're shopping for to your specific child's learning abilities, and they are all going to probably be different. Also, get your child's input, especially if they're moving towards high school, middle school. It's time to start asking them, how do you prefer to learn the best? Do you like doing projects? Do you like reading? What is it, the way that you like to learn the best in school? And get some input from them, ask some questions, look at curriculum with them. And we're trying to make a decision about math next year, and there are some demonstration lessons online that I'm going to have her watch with me so we can try to decide, is this something you think you would enjoy? I know you don't enjoy math at all, but do you think you might enjoy this more than what you're using right now? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So get your child's input if they're older, because they should be able to tell you, what I hate about the curriculum we're using this year is, and you can say, okay, that's not something I can do anything about, or okay, I could pick something different. We could try something different. So get some input. Think about also when your child does give you the input, don't just ask them what they like, but think about what they need, because they may say, I like videos. Sure you do, because you can zone out while you're watching them. They don't require a lot of work to watch a video. You can just sit in front of it and kind of absorb. You don't have to read and think. And it might be just the lazy way out. And they're saying they like it because it feels better to watch a video than it does to have to read a chapter. So think about what they need, not just what they say they like, but do get their input. All right. Think about what didn't work this year, what hasn't been working well this year for each child. You can't always use leftovers for the younger kids. I mean, you have this perfectly good curriculum sitting on the shelf and you want to reuse it with a younger sibling. I totally understand that. But sometimes you get around to the younger sibling and you think, this is not going to work for them. I've had to shelve stuff before. I've even just sold it. And I thought, if I ever need it again, it'll be there. I can buy it again. I don't need to just keep this for on and on and on. So you can't always just reuse. You can't just say, we use blah, blah, blah for history. That's it. Because each of your kids might need something different. So think about what didn't work this last year for that child and don't repeat the same mistake. If a certain type of curriculum didn't work for them, try something else. And think also about where they're headed. Is this child going back to public school at some point? Because that is going to inform your decisions about what you purchase and how you teach. Are they headed to college soon? That's going to make a difference. You're going to need to think about what they need. All right. Next thing, be a smart shopper. And here's what I mean. Try before you buy. Don't just make an order, put it in the cart and have it sent to the house and be like, there, I got it, done. Be a smart shopper. You can visit a friend who has a curriculum that you're looking at. Say, can I see your curriculum in person? Can you show it to me? Can you tell me what you like about it? And you can see it in person and kind of see it in action and be like, oh, okay, I really like this. Or no, this looks awful. There's too many moving parts. I could never keep up with this. You need to try it before you buy it. You can borrow from a friend. If you have a real good friend that doesn't even want to sell it to you, but will just let you borrow, try that. Try a few lessons out. Really spend some time looking at it before you decide that this would be perfect or not. Buy used, it's not such an investment. If you get it used, you think, well, I only spent $30 or whatever. So if it ends up being something, no, this is not going to work, you're not out a lot of money because you bought it used. Also, know that many homeschool companies will give you free samples. They'll email them to you, or you can see free samples on their website. That can be very helpful too. If you're the kind of person that just really needs to see it in person, which I kind of understand, there's some other things you can do, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And I just want to give you a little warning now about spring burnout. You might feel like burning the curriculum that you're currently using because you're so sick of looking at it. But don't let that be the reason to ditch something that actually is working. I know we're all a little bit tired right now, but don't say, I never want to see this book again, because it actually might be a really solid curriculum that your kid is doing very well in, or their little brother or sister might be able to use. So avoid the, I don't want to see this anymore, I'm getting something new thinking, and just kind of be calm and you'll feel better maybe when you've had a little bit of summer break, and then you can be like, okay, actually that was a good curriculum. It wasn't that bad. Maybe we can use it again. Just a little warning. All right, let's talk about where to shop. All right. Online, my favorites, and this is no expert opinion here, just my favorite places to check. I'm really a nerd. I'm going to confess right now, I love researching for the new year and curriculum shopping and all of it. I love it better than teaching it sometimes. I make a spreadsheet. I mean, I am not a spreadsheet person, but this something floats my boat. I make columns about how much everything costs at different places online, and I have my budget totaled over here, and I know exactly what the best place, cheapest place is to get this or that. It's a sickness. You don't have to be like me. I just wanted you to know. Okay. My favorite places online are Rainbow Resource. Great place to shop. Okay. Christianbook.com. That's not just for Christian curriculum. They sell homeschool curriculum on there. Christianbook.com. Mardel. If you have a Mardel store, you can go in person and see the curriculum. And that's something I have done so many times when I've been thinking about buying something, is I drive to Mardel. It's not too far from our house. And I sit down on the floor of the homeschool aisle and I look at the curriculum. And plus you can just kind of see like all the options. You're in the history aisle and you're like, oh, wow, look at all these. I haven't even heard of some of these. And it's just nice sometimes to shop in person. So if you have a Mardel store near you, you can go. You might have a local homeschool store. Sometimes they sell new, sometimes they sell used, but that's a place you can go. We used to have a homeschool store in our area. It's not there anymore, but they had new stuff up front, but in the back they had a shelf of used. So anytime you walked in there, you could shop around and look. That's kind of a fun thing to do. We have a homeschool store that is not real near us, but if you have one that's like this one's kind of an hour away, but what I do is I make a list of what I need or what I'm hoping to find used. I get a girlfriend, we make a day trip of it. We just split the gas and we stop for lunch on the way and we're like, let's go, because it's so worth it. You can come home with like 1/3 of what you needed and you got it used. So if you have some place that's kind of near you, plan it, make a day trip. It's worth it. If you're coming home with a lot of stuff, if you're very prepared and you have your list made, you can really do well on something like that. Well worth the gas money. Again, I'm going to reiterate, used first, then new. Everything you can buy used, go ahead and do that first on your list. Then last resort, okay, I can't find this new. I can't find this used. I have to buy this thing new. Save so much money that way. And then local groups, Facebook groups. I mean, anymore, I just get so much on the Facebook groups. You can go to just used curriculum groups that are online. There'll be local ones and ones that are just anywhere. You'll have to pay shipping, but also each curriculum has a Facebook group usually. I mean, you can go to, for example, Guest Hollow has Facebook groups and you can buy and sell what you purchased for Guest Hollow, and it's going to sell really well on those groups because someone is specifically looking for that curriculum. So that's one way you can do it. Of course, you can check eBay, Amazon, all of the normal places online. And then the last thing about shopping in person is if there's a homeschool convention near you, to go, because the vendor hall can be an amazing place. That's where you really can look, in person and touch and feel and look at the things, talk to a sales rep. I don't know that I would buy it at the convention, but I definitely would go and get some ideas, because you can walk around and see things that you didn't even know existed, see them in person, ask your questions. Those are great things to do. I hope that these tips are helpful. I love shopping. And if you know of a great place online that is your favorite place to shop, please tell us in the comments. And if you know of a better online learning styles quiz than the ones I mentioned, please drop that in the comments as well. Happy shopping, and I hope you're having a great week.